What was the worst? Why the F did I say that moment? My ex said at the dinner table I had a slight webbing on my toe. How do you get that? In front of her entire family, aunts, uncles, cousins, grandparents. I instinctively said, inbreeding. Forks dropped, and they all just stared at me. I didn't know what to do or where to look. I just wanted to die. On the morning of my wedding, the third time I'd met my soon-to-be mother-in-law, I was understandably jittery about the day, probably not at the top of my game. So, I warmly greeted her by saying, "Hi Linda, it's so good to see you." She's quiet for a moment, and then says, "Actually, it's Laura." I knew it was Laura. I have no clue why I called her Linda. I was mortified, and felt like I had only one way out of the situation. I replied after a pause, "No, I'm pretty sure it's Linda." To her credit, and to this day, whenever she calls me she tells me it's Linda, and I've never called her anything but that since. At my friend's wedding, which I was standing up in, I walk into the bathroom which has one or two more men in it than there are stalls and urinals for. My friend says, "I guess I'll use the handicap stall," since it was unoccupied, but apparently he wasn't sure that he should use it. Without missing a beat, I said, "That's okay. It works for mentally handicapped people too." It was at that point that I realized that it wasn't my friend who said it, just some guy I didn't know who was in his 40s or 50s. I was 24 at the time. Silence. I quickly go into the other stall which someone had just exited, went as fast as possible, and left without washing my hands so I would get out of there before the other guy left the handicap stall. When they once announced our librarian, horrible lady, had passed away over the PA, my brain faded and I accidentally said, "Looks like she finally got our library to be quiet." R.I.P. I once complimented a girl I know on her cute outfit and asked where she got it. She named a plus size store. For whatever stupid reason I replied, "Really? I need to gain a bunch of weight so I can shop there." I immediately realized what I had said, and we looked at each other for a moment, looked away, and sat in uncomfortable silence for the rest of class because I'm a jerk. So I was at a group fitness class and the instructor was known for having weird exercises like bending and swinging one of your arms in a circle and calling it making soup. He gets really into and asks the class what soup they were making. Chicken soup, tomato soup. He asked me and I panicked and said, "Water." I worked at a restaurant that served fried pickles and it was one of our biggest sellers. I had two ladies come in and one says, "OMG, let's get fried pickles." Okay, I'm paraphrasing, but you get it. Other lady says, "You go ahead, I'll pass. No biggie." I order them and bring them out with 2 plates anyway. What I meant to say was, I brought 2 plates in case you change your mind. I know how delicious they are and they might call your name. What I actually said was, I brought 2 plates because I understand the call of the pickle. Awkward smile and cue walk off. At one point I was having lunch with my then girlfriend. I asked if she wanted to say hi to her friend. She said she didn't see her. I pointed to her and asked, "Do you not recognize her? Bend over?" To which she responded, "Do you?" I have never responded well to random uncomfortable news. Once when I was in college I was getting a haircut and asked how the stylist's day was going. She said her day was going well but her dog died the night before. Without thinking I said, "Think of all the money you'll save on dog food." Instant regret. It's one of those things that pops into my head randomly as I try to sleep at night. An ex was explaining she was self-conscious about something, and it was slightly odd, and I intended to say something reassuring and comforting. What I actually said was, "That's strange, of all the things you could be self-conscious about." Her face dropped and I realized immediately what I said and unsuccessfully tried to backtrack. I was interviewing for my first job. I was probably 15-16 and very nervous. It was a job bussing tables and washing dishes at the golf club / catering area. During the interview, the interviewer asked, "Are you punctual?" I replied with, "I think you can tell from my appearance that I'm not punk at all, and I don't really like that kind of music." Next question. "Are you frequently on time to appointments?" And I answered normally, thinking it was just the next question. Not me but a friend. We were at our mutual friend's birthday party when we were about 6 or 7. The mother brings out a bowl of strawberry punch. To be fair, it really didn't look super appealing, but my friend couldn't keep her mouth shut and said something along the lines of, "Whoa, that looks like a bowl of diarrhea." And the mother got super upset and offended, and I could see immediately the look on my friend's face that they knew they messed up. I was a math tutor for grade school kids at a franchise place. One day a middle school age girl came in several hours after the time she usually does. We didn't do appointments. The kids usually followed routines though. So I asked why she was coming in later than usual, just making small talk, and she said she went to her grandmother's funeral that morning. So I said, well, at least that's better than doing math on a Saturday. Trying to joke around. She kind of sheepishly faked a smile, and I immediately realized I'm an idiot and walked away instead of apologizing. I just didn't speak to her again for a while. Because I'm an idiot. My wife and I were having dinner with her boss, B, and B's husband and new baby. The baby had a loose pocket of skin on her head. My wife had mentioned it before, so I was aware but not really thinking about it. I couldn't see it at the angle that the baby was being held at. B moved the baby to hold her with the other arm, and I saw it move. It was like a large, fleshy blister. It covered half of the back of her head and was partially full of fluid. As the baby was moved, it sloshed. I quietly exclaimed, "That baby needs a hat." B shot daggers out of her eyes at me while her husband suppressed a laugh. My friend was talking to me about some random stuff while she was getting changed, and I wasn't really paying attention. My replies were mainly yes and no's. I heard her ask me something, but I had no idea what, so I just smiled at her and said, "Absolutely," and hoped for the best. Turned out she asked me if she looked fat. Make sure to like and subscribe for all the best Reddit videos.